That's me. That's you. You're wrong with all your lying and cheating. You're wrong. And I was blind, now I'm seeing. You're wrong. You coming back, now you leaving. Check your phone, you still breathing. You're wrong. I was there for you, supported your passion. Act as if my love just wasn't enough. Hitting people's lives for your satisfaction. Don't sit down, get your stuff. You can try the lie, your key ain't matching. Don't even try to call, you blocked on the phone. Come on, baby boy, I ain't your mama. You need some help, you're wrong. You're wrong with all your lying, your cheating. You're wrong, and I was blind, now I'm seeing. You're wrong. You coming back, now you leaving. Check your pulse, you still breathing. You're wrong. I tried to do my very best, tried to create what wasn't there. Found you, found me, found something wrong. Our better days are gone. You're wrong with all your lying, your cheating. You're wrong, and I was blind, now I'm seeing. You're wrong. You coming back, now you leaving. Check your pulse, you still breathing. You're wrong with all your lying, your cheating. You're wrong, and I was blind, now I'm seeing. You're wrong. You coming back, now you leaving. Check your pulse, you still breathing. You're wrong.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining. My name is Michelle. I'm the development director here at Liberty's Kitchen, and it is my pleasure to introduce a few people. I want to first introduce Lou Hill of Waterseed, who's the band that we just saw. So, Lou, you want to say a few words?
Hey, what's going on? Glad to be here. This is great.
Thanks for
This is
joining.
great. Thanks for the invite. Most definitely. Yeah, well, that's the band Waterseed. We've been in New Orleans for quite some time doing our thing, and we're just honored to be here and, you know, spreading the love and the music.
All right. Thanks, Lou. So I also want to thank Top Box Foods, who made all the deliveries yesterday, and they're the reason that everyone has lovely produce. Our farmer friends at Indian Springs Farmer Association also thank you for supporting. Now I'm going to toss it over to Lauren Darnell. So Lauren is the executive director for the Made in New Orleans Foundation, and she is our partner in community service and a dear friend of mine. And she's going to tell us a little bit about what the Minnow Foundation is up to. Lauren, hi.
Thank you. Hi. Thank you so much. I was jamming. Thank you, Lou. That was awesome. So good to see you, Chef. And I'm excited for what you're going to be cooking up this evening. I'm here to talk about Made in New Orleans Foundation. We have an upcoming fundraiser called Pass the Peas. And Chef Syrena, who is our first culinary scholarship recipient from 2011, she is also a Made New Orleans board member, and we're honored. She curated a banging menu, 3 courses that'll be delivered to your home. Our event is virtual, and our latest recipient of the scholarship is Kyle Wilson, who is a Liberty's Kitchen alum as well, and he is making the bread pudding, which is the last course for our meal. It's going to be an exciting evening. We're coming together to really vision for the future. Made New Orleans exists for the advancement of Black and brown people in the hospitality industry. We are here to provide resources, but also to eliminate bias and work with restaurants so that we can move New Orleans forward for the future. So it's equitable all around, and we have work environments where people are thriving, all colors, inclusive, and diverse. So Syrena is going to talk a little bit about the menu. She is a force of nature. It's an honor to work with her. It's an honor to be in partnership with Liberty's Kitchen. I love y'all. I always ask. Y'all always say yes. And you have such quality and beautiful people that make up the organization. So it's no doubt that you produce gems like Kyle and Syrena that I get to help and support more. So Syrena, chef. Oh, you're on still mute.
See, to say that we've been doing virtual stuff for like months now, I still haven't gotten the aspect of unmuting myself. But yes, this is Chef Syrena, a former alum of Liberty's Kitchen, alum of the Minnow Foundation. Just like Lauren said, we have Pass the Peas on December 3rd. The menu will be whole red snapper with spiced root veg. We have butternut squash soup for the first course. We have stone ground creamy grits, and we also have fennel salad accompanying the red snapper, and it's going to be a awesome virtually good time. So you guys should buy tickets. Support, support, support. I am a product of it. Kyle is a product of it. It really works from firsthand experience.
Syrena, how can we get tickets?
You guys can go to the Minnow Foundation, www.minnowfoundation.org.
Yep, or they can go to Eventbrite. You can access it both ways. So Eventbrite, Pass the Peas 2020, December 3rd, or on our website, minnowfoundation.org, Pass the Peas 2020. Box for two, a dinner for two is $150 and includes 2 cocktails, sponsored by Sazerac, a bottle of wine from Bacchanal, 3-course menu, and some extra little goodies in the box. So we're super honored for our sponsors and partners, but also like this is a party with a purpose, just like this is tonight. So if you want to continue partying with a purpose, this is how you can support. So thank y'all.
Thank you, Lauren, and thank you, Syrena. We'll be hearing more from Syrena in a little while, and Mary will put the Minnow Foundation hyperlink in the chat box, so y'all can look at the hyperlink. Y'all can look at buying tickets. So I also want to finally introduce our partners at Bonne Cuvée Wines. So in your email inbox or in your box itself that you received 2 suggested wine pairings for this evening, and that was suggested by Dr. Harsha Chacko and Marie Capuchin of Bonne Cuvée Wines. So I was instructed to ask all of you to open up your bottle of wine, pour yourself a glass. You'll be hearing more from both Marie and Harsha in just a few minutes, but I did want to, without further ado, introduce Chef Susan Spicer, who everyone is here for. So Chef, come step in the screen. So Chef Spicer of Rosedale and Bayona has been a Liberty's Kitchen supporter now for almost a while. Yeah, maybe 7 or 8 years now. So she has been an externship partner of ours, and she's been a mentor to so many of our graduates, and we just really respect and thank you for all your support.
I love what y'all do.
Yeah, so I'm going to stop talking, put my mask back on, and let Chef Susan take it from here. And just as a reminder, if any of you have any questions, you'll notice that you're on mute, but you can type in your question into the chat box, and Chef Syrena will be monitoring that box for you. So take it away, Chef.
She can probably answer all your questions without even talking to me. So she knows what she's doing. Well, thank you. I'm excited to be here. This is kind of wacky, but we've been doing a lot of these things since what happened in March. So tonight I received a list of ingredients, and I picked a couple of things that sounded like something I would prepare for a weeknight dinner, and for my sweet husband, whose birthday it is today. Happy birthday, Chip. He's not watching, but anyway. So I decided to go with the pork chops because they're so versatile and they go with so many things. They had sweet potatoes on the list and Brussels sprouts. So I kind of put that all together in apples. And we're going to do sauteed pork chops with sweet potato spoon bread and Brussels sprouts. And I picked spoon bread because that was a dish that my mom used to make for us. And I've done a lot of different adaptations of this basic recipe, and I can I want to tell you guys. Also,
What is a spoon bread?
A spoon bread is essentially a cornmeal porridge that's lightened with egg whites. So it's it's got eggs in it and it's baked. And you start with just a basic, as if you were making polenta or grits or something like that. It's cooked with milk. So let's see, let's get started. First thing that was on the list that you're supposed to do, hopefully y'all did this ahead of time, is to bake your sweet potatoes. And these are beautiful. This is such a nice season in Louisiana. We get our beautiful, you can get small, they come even smaller than this. You can get fingerling sweet potatoes that are so delicious, just, baked and a little butter and, steamed syrup or something like that. We do them like that at Rosedale. But I bake these just until you can start to smell them, and they'll sometimes use this wonderful, just sweet potato syrup. These are lovely, and they're so good just like this, either, just sliced and mashed. But anyway, I just took them in and mashed them with a fork in a bowl, and this is my sweet potato puree that I'm going to use. Now we're going to go over to the stove where we're going to make our all right, and I've started with just a little finely diced onion. I wanted to, get a little start on that. And we're sweating it in a small amount of butter. To sweat just means cook it, until it starts to give up its juices. You don't have to get, it doesn't have to brown. It can take on a little bit of color, but you want it to just be, a little bit translucent. Then we're going to add our milk. And this recipe does make more than enough for 2 people. So I've never made spoon bread for 2 people. So you'll have to bear with me. You can try, cutting it down to a smaller amount. But I put a little bit of salt in there, and then I'm going to whisk in my cornmeal. And this is the kind of whisk, I don't know if you can see it. It's not a fine wire whisk. It's a little bit heavier. And that's what you want to use for whisking thicker mixtures, like making grits or something at home. I mean, I think it's a nice small one. Later on, we're going to switch, and we're going to use a finer wire whisk to do our egg whites. But for now, this is going to really thicken up this mixture. As soon as you bring it to a boil.
So about how much cornmeal is that?
I use 2 cups of milk and a half a cup of cornmeal. It's 4-to-1 is the proportion, and you can scale that out. So my mom's original recipe was like 1 cup of cornmeal to a quart of milk and 4 eggs. Okay. But I scaled it down by half. But you could try doing it even smaller. It's probably work.
So, Chef, is this more on the savory side, or is this like a partial dessert?
Yeah, I'm doing this on the savory side because you could add, a little cane syrup or maple syrup or something. But since I'm doing sort of a sweet sauce with the apples, I wanted to balance it, and just keep it. And there are so many variations that you can do on this recipe. I was going to sort of make some suggestions while I'm beating the egg whites because it's kind of boring. So,
Sure.
But in order to kind of bring this up pretty quickly to a boil, because it's not going to thicken all the way until it reaches a boil. It's like making anything that you do where you use like flour as a thickener. If you're making a white sauce or something, you've got to bring it up. Here it goes. It's starting to boil now. So now we're going to want to make sure it's not cooking to the bottom of the pot.
So it's on medium heat?
It's on, you know, medium high, I would say. I'm going to turn it down to medium because it's kind of warming my knuckles. But I want to, you know, I want to get to this. I want to show pretty quickly how fast it'll thicken. It's already started to thicken a little bit, and as it boils, and I did add a little salt.
Do you make anything like this at Rosedale?
Oh yeah.
I like it when the people are actually cooking in the background. So Christian back there, I like it. I like that. I like to see that. Y'all really cooking with Chef. I really like to see that.
Oh yeah. I know, this is kind of fun to do it, you know. Whew. Watch out. And I said in the recipe, be careful, because this is the point where it gets kind of like lava. So now you can, once it's come to a boil, you can turn it down. And we're...
That consistency.
Yeah, you really want it to... It's starting... You want it to thicken up quite a bit, because you're going to lighten it. You're going to add egg yolks and egg whites. So you want it to be pretty tight, so that the actual, when you put it in the ramekin, it's not going to be a wet, loose mixture. All right, we're almost there. Almost there.
So this is your mom's recipe?
Yeah.
Say a little bit more about that?
Yeah. My mom was a great cook, a really good cook. She got a lot of practice being cooking for 9 people every day because she had 7 kids. And I learned a lot of what I know, a lot of my dishes that I learned from my mom just from sitting on the kitchen counter, you know, watching her cook. And she was an adventurous cook, so we're all adventurous eaters. And that's one thing I'm really grateful. I mean, there's a lot of things I learned from her. That's one of the things that I'm really grateful for, is that she didn't, you know, she wasn't a bland cook at all. She was always interested in trying different things. All right, so we're almost there.
So you want to say what you just added?
I added a little bit of pepper. And we're going to dry this out just a tiny bit more. So are there actually people doing this at home along with me?
Yeah, I see one for sure. Another person took off their camera. They're not afraid.
I'm cooking, but so I'm cooking.
All right.
I would like to see how many other people are out there actually cooking too, so I can critique them as well.
Okay. So this is thick enough. As you can see, it's pretty tight. Can you see that? It's not liquid anymore. It's like a more like oatmeal. I mean, grits I don't think you would dry out quite this much. I'm gonna walk back over here now. I'm gonna add the rest of the butter. I think it was a couple more teaspoons. That's gonna help cool it down a little bit. Oops, look, I'm all rosy now from add the butter. I'm gonna let it cool for a moment because I want to add the yolks, but I want them to cool down a little bit before I add those yolks in there. So what we'll do is we'll start beating the egg whites. So what I was talking about, I whisked these a little bit prior, and then you can do that up to a certain point. I always tell the kids in my kitchen, I always tell people in my kitchen when they're beating cream, whipping cream, or beating egg yolks to like, you know, look like a young person, not like you're 90 years old or something. They're like, little energy. And when you beat egg whites, you got to make sure there's a couple of things that you need to make really sure. You want everything to be grease free. So make sure your bowl is clean. Make sure your whisk is clean. You know that there's no traces of grease. Not that any of you would have greasy utensils at home. I know I don't. Never. So you can kind of tilt the bowl. It's only 2 egg whites, so it's really not that hard. And we're whipping it to be what we call the stiff but not dry.
Can you speak up a little bit?
Yeah, we're whipping it to what we call stiff but not dry. And that means that it's going to hold its shape, but it's still going to look creamy. If it starts kind of clumping, you've over whipped it a little bit. Let that rest for a second while we let our mixture cool down a tiny bit. Oh, I'm also going to go ahead and add in, I forgot, we're going to cool it down a lot because we're going to add in our sweet potato. So that was about, that was 1 medium sweet potato, or maybe these 2 together mashed. Just half a cup.
Chef, is the consistency gonna be like bread when it comes out?
Is it going to be like bread?
Yeah.
No, it's going to be kind of like a souffle, but a little, but not as delicate. So it's going to be a moist kind of a pudding. It's something that you can actually unmold from your dish. Here's our, well, now if you're doing individual ones, you could probably unmold it. We've done that before when we plate them. I have small ramekins here, and I have a bigger one that would be for 2 people. This is probably about an 8-ounce ramekin. These are like 3 or 4 ounces. And what you do is you just brush them with a little butter, and then I put cornmeal and shake them around. So like this one I brush with butter. Put your little bit of cornmeal.
So, Chef, we have a question. Someone said, how long does it take to get the egg whites to the stiff peak because their arms are getting tired?
How long does it take to whip 2 egg whites? About 5 minutes. Not that long.
You wanna be able to with the whisk hold it up and it hooks, right? Like a little hook in the egg white. Yeah.
You can see that it's kind of sitting on the surface. You know, it's holding its shape, but it's not. It's still creamy. I'm gonna whip it just a little more just to make sure. And if you have, you know, cream of tartar, you can put that in there. A little pinch of salt. All right, so we're good. We're gonna add our 2 egg yolks.
Okay, so we have a question. Someone asked, what was the brown stuff that you added to the onion mix?
Sweet
The
potato.
brown stuff?
That was sweet potato.
Wait, this?
Can you go over what's in
That was the sweet potato. So far we have a little bit. We started with onions and butter. Then we put our milk, cornmeal, salt and pepper. Then we brought it over. We added a little bit more butter. We added the puree, the mashed sweet potato, and the 2 egg yolks. And now I'm going to lighten it up with the egg whites. And I'm going to taste it just to make sure. At this point, when you add the egg whites, that's going to dilute any seasoning that you put in there. So you need to make sure that it's well seasoned. Good. A little bit more salt. And pepper. And it's got a nice flavor from the, you know, the sweet potato adds a little bit of sweetness, but doesn't make it real sweet. But you can definitely add a little bit of sweetness if you want it, either brown sugar or maple syrup or cane syrup. All right, now get rid of my whisk. now I'm going to fold in my whites. So they're creamy, but they're stiff. I think that's a good shot right there. They're nice and creamy, but and whenever you want to incorporate whites into something that's a heavier consistency, you do it in batches. So the first time I'm adding the whites, I'm going to mix it pretty thoroughly because I want to lighten up that base. So I'm not too worried about the whites. Then I'm going to put a little bit more in, and I'm going to be a little bit more delicate with it because I don't want to get the air. And this is not as delicate as a souffle. I mean, if you were doing a souffle, you would be very careful, and you would use more egg whites to the proportion.
You probably want a bigger bowl.
Yeah. Now I'm going to add the last of my egg whites. And 2 egg whites, you know, it makes it pretty good, enough to lighten this mixture up considerably.
After this, can you ask, hey, how's everyone doing?
All right. Do you have any questions? Is everybody following along? Is there anything I can clarify? Just make sure make sure it's seasoned. A little more pepper. All right, now, and the folding is this process. All right, when you fold, you're using a plastic spatula, and you kind of cut the spatula into the mixture all the way down to the bottom, and you turn from the bottom to the top, and then if you're using a bowl, you would rotate the bowls so that you get, here, I'll show you what I'm talking about. Let me do this. Here.
So airy, it's beautiful.
Yeah, so it's nice and light. So when you're, and we already have, this is already mixed enough, so we really don't want to mix it too much more, but you would fold like this and turn your bowl a quarter of a turn and fold on top and fold, and you're being pretty delicate with it. All right, so now we're going to fill our ramekins. And this leftover spoon bread holds really well in the refrigerator, so you can have it a couple of days later.
Pre-baked?
Yeah, you can bake it and then you can reheat it. They hold up really well. So we've got pretty nice little, there we go. And I'm putting it in this container. You can add water. It doesn't have to be baked in a water bath, but we can do that.
What's the benefit of a water bath?
What's that?
What's the benefit of a water bath?
It just keeps it moist and distributes the heat evenly. So we're going to do that. We're going to put it in our preheated oven, and once we do that, it's going to take about 15 minutes to cook. For the small ones, about 12 to 15 minutes. For the bigger one, it'll probably take a little bit longer, like more like 25, maybe 30. And I think we should see what's going on with the wine.
All right.
Sounds good to me.
Meredith, do you have a question? I see you look like you're trying to clarify something. Y'all have a question? Okay, all right. Y'all doing good? All right.
I'm sorry, what's the question?
You're good.
Okay.
I would love to see how everybody feel if they cooking right now. How do y'all feel about going in the oven? Do y'all think that y'all on point with Chef? Ooh, all right, Christy, I like that. That looks good. Oh, y'all, all right. Now y'all showing off.
Okay, so while my husband, I was the prep cook. I cut everything and I prepared everything. So he is cooking tonight. This is great. This is good. Hi, everyone.
2 chefs count as well. So that's
Thank you.
all.
I did the hard part, I think. Now, we'll see how good that comes out, right?
Right, and I'm
So-
interested.
So hi, everyone.
All right, I see Miss Stacy in the background getting some stuff together. I like it when I see y'all cooking, y'all interacting.
Yeah, we want to see it.
5 minutes behind, but we're going. We're going.
It's cool. It's sometimes that happens. As long as you can catch up and still eat tonight, that's all that matters.
That's fine.
All right, so hi, everyone. My name is Marie Capuchin, and I'm a partner in a local company called Bonne Cuvée Wine Tours and Tastings. We're excited to be part of this evening. This is exciting for us too. We'll see how it comes out. So what we do, we specialize in private wine tours that offer a comfortable and enjoyable way to discover the greatest vineyards in the world. Our tours are personal, interactive, full of educational experiences. We're not the big bus with 30 people. If that's what you like, don't come to us. We're very small. So our 2020 tours to Burgundy and Portugal have been postponed, unfortunately, but we hope to be able to travel again with our groups in the fall of 2021. Our wine tastings have turned virtual and are for all levels. We like to say that we drop the snobbery of wine terms and really get to know wine in a relaxed but still structured workshop. You can find all about us at bonnecuvee.com. Now I'd like to introduce you to my Bonne Cuvée partner and our wine director, Harsha Chacko. He's a professor emeritus at the University of New Orleans. I know a lot of you are UNO grads and know him. And he has over 30 years experience as a wine educator, and he's a certified specialist of wine by the Society of Wine Educators. He has explored many of the world's best wine regions and shared his vast knowledge and enthusiasm for wine with hundreds of eager participants. We're excited to be able to do these tours. As I said again, we are local, but we take you around the world. So now I will turn this over to Harsha and let him talk about the wines he's selected for tonight's fantastic meal.
All right, thank you, Marie. I appreciate the introduction. Also, it's great to see Chef Susan Spicer. I don't know if she remembers, but I came to see her at Maison du Puy. Susan, I came to see you at Maison du Puy when you were with Joe St. Paul as your assistant. And that's the first time I met you. So that's, I don't know, probably 30 years ago. So it's really great to continue to maintain our relationship. And thank you also, remember coming out to UNO to speak to our students. And one of your assistants, Ksenia, used to be a student at UNO. He is now a professor in Switzerland, so he's doing well. But anyway, thanks to Liberty's Kitchen for giving us this opportunity to partner with them to talk about the wines for today. So I picked 2 wines to go with the pork chops with apples, and mainly because I know some people like white wines and some people like red, and pork is a perfect meat where you can go either way. And especially with the apples and the apple cider sauce, I figured that you could go with 2 wines. So choose any one depending on whether you like white wine or red wine. And so the first wine that I picked was a Riesling from Washington State. And yes, so thank you, Mary. So this is a heroic Riesling from the Columbia Valley in Washington State. The Washington State, obviously you can see the eastern Washington State is where the wine country is. The Cascade Mountains provide a protection from the real harsh Pacific winds that come across. And so you can see the Cascade Mountains right here, and eastern Washington is where the Columbia Valley is. You can see it's a huge area for making wine. Riesling's ancestral home is in France, in Alsace, and also in Germany. But Chateau Saint Michel, which is a very big winery in Washington State, has partnered with Dr. Lucem, who is a great producer in Germany, in the Rhine area. And they are producing this wine called Eroica from Washington State Riesling grapes. And I picked it because, as I said, there's a hint of sweetness, mouth-watering acidity, and I think it'll be a good complement for the pork chops and the apples. I expect there'll be some sweetness and a little bit of acidity in the final dish. And that's the first wine that I picked, which is the Riesling. The second wine that I picked to go with the pork chops, for those of you who like red wine, is from a small winery in the Russian River Valley in Sonoma in California. They're called River Road Pinot Noir. So River Road Winery, they get their grapes from all over California. The map that I have shows you the North Coast, which is where Sonoma and Napa is. But they get their grapes from the Central Valley and the Central Coast also. And it's 100% Pinot Noir. And so it's a light red wine with smooth tannins. So it's not a very powerful tannic wine like a Cabernet or a Syrah. So the soft tannins will go really well with pork, which could be considered a white meat. And it's also got a balance of acidity. And I've been tasting it, and I think it'll be really good with the pork chops and the apples. So both wines have been chosen to match this particular dish. If you like red wine, I hope you got the Pinot Noir. If you like the whites, I hope you got the Riesling. But I think both of these wines will go well, right? Thank you so much. And so Bonne Cuvée is very happy to participate with you all in this, with Liberty's Kitchen. And thanks to all of you for putting this together. All right. Back to Chef.
All right, well, we are going to do our Brussels sprouts, our pork chops, and our apples. And I have this beautiful Granny Smith apple, which is a great tart cooking apple. I peeled part of it and I left some unpeeled, so it's kind of your preference. The other thing that I did is I finely chopped the shallots for the Brussels sprouts, and there's a little garlic mixed in with that. We have these beautiful thick pork chops, and I pre-season them a little bit. I normally only season meat or fish on one side. These are pretty thick, so they might take a little bit of salt on the underside as well, salt and pepper. Easy on the pepper. And this is flour. We'll give it a little light dusting of flour. So I'm going to bring all this over to this side.
And I'm sure we doing this in this order of operation because you guys all know that the spoon bread takes some time to bake. So we got that out the way first because that was the most time consuming part. So it'll all come into place. By the time y'all spoon bread come out of the oven, y'all pork chops and stuff should be nice and ready. It's all the order of operation and cooking.
Okay. All right, here we have this Brussels sprouts, which I was going to pre-blanch, but I thought I would just show y'all what blanching is about. And they're so tiny and beautiful, they won't need very long. In fact, you could probably cook them without blanching them, but we're going to go ahead and blanch. Blanching is just boiling salted water. You want to have some ice water ready at hand because it's not a very long process. Oops, I lost one. There's lots of salt, and you don't want to crowd the pot. Green veg likes a lot of oxygen, and that's what we're doing here. So we're just going to give them a little. This is just makes it a little quicker to cook.
A little par cook, getting it started.
Exactly. So they're not going to take very long at all. And here's my ice water. So that's quick. And it keeps them it also helps maintain the color. You want to do this with green beans or broccoli. It's a great way to, just get a little pre-cook on your veg, and then, you can do it early in the day ahead of time, and it just saves time when you're ready to finish them up. Now I'm going to take them out of the ice water because I don't want them to be wet when I put them in the pan.
Chef, while you're doing
olive oil and butter to cook these in, because I didn't bring any bacon fat with me, but oh man, Brussels sprouts and bacon. The match made in heaven. So if you have,
I got some bacon fat sitting in the windowsill. That's what I will.
I always keep bacon fat, in a little jar on next to my stove. And I think I might. All right. So here they are, and they're nice and bright. We're gonna put our little bit of olive oil. I'll finish them with some whole butter.
Can you go over what's in that pan again?
That was just olive oil
In this pan.
in the pan. Yeah, full olive oil. So that's what I have. I'm gonna put them in there to get started. They're a little wet, so first we're gonna do them on kind of a low heat to dry them out.
Can you speak up?
Yeah. They're a little wet, so we are putting them, I'm going to turn the heat down, and we're going to let them dry in the pan a little bit, and then as we get closer with the rest of the dish, we're going to crank the heat up and just finish them nice, give them a nice fry. I got to get used to the burners here. Everybody's burners are different. So. And I am going to lightly, a little light seasoning there. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and we'll start with the pork chops. This is a pretty big pan. There's big pans and small pans, so that's what we got. I'm going to do the pork chops in this big pan, and we might. So I've preheated it. I'm going to season the underside of this pork chop. And I'm going to sprinkle very, very lightly with a little bit of flour. I always pat off the excess. I don't want a big, heavy coating. Although my husband probably would. He likes it like that. Okay, so now I have a hot pan with the oil in it. This could be any kind of cooking oil. Just, whatever you use, vegetable oil of some kind. And we're going to just let that roll for a few minutes while it gets some color. Now, I think in the recipe I said to cook the pork chops and do it in the same pan, to take the pork chops out and then do your apples. But I'm going to start a few of the apples in the sauce ahead of time in this pan. This is a smaller pan. So I may cook some of the apples around the pork, but I'm also going to cook some in this pan over here, just so we can kind of get it all going. I'll make the sauce over there, and we'll put some of our apples in here to saute.
Wow.
One of the things that's I think people ask a lot about, how cooks at home can cook more like a restaurant. What is the difference? Mm-hmm. And one thing that I always say is high heat. We're not afraid of heat. And in order to get that golden brown color on things, you've got to remember a few things. One is always make sure whatever you're cooking is dry. That's why I was talking about drying out my Brussels sprouts on a low heat.
Okay.
My pork chops, I patted dry with a paper towel before I seasoned them, and then we did that little, I'm going to adjust this heat. Oops, well, burner's a little tricky. So we dusted it, and that dries it out, and that's also going to help give us that nice, beautiful golden brown. My apples are already getting color on them, as you can see, and you can tell from the little smoke coming off the pan that the heat is. And you can see they're getting a little color. You can turn it down lower to control. I'm just getting the hang of these burners here.
Is everybody able to keep up? Y'all getting the hang of it? I see. Okay. All right. Harsha, I have a question for you. Someone asked, did the fires affect any of the wineries? You're on mute.
So the fires really didn't affect both these wineries weren't affected by the fire. The fires were mostly in some parts of Sonoma, but they get their grapes from all over California. That's the red wine. And in Washington State, it didn't affect that part of Columbia Valley. So both these wineries were okay. And these wines were obviously produced earlier, so they're not distillers wines. But in the future, there are some wineries that in California that are affected by the fires, and by smoke things. So the grapes cannot be actually used to make wine; they'll be used to make something else. They can still crush the grapes and make grape juice, and they can make brandy out of it. They can make, some of them are making sanitizer, things like that, because the grapes are not fine enough, and the base not fine enough to make wines that have to stand up just to fermentation. You can actually distill it and make other products. So I hope that answered the question.
All right. Look like Chef got some multitasking going on. I hope everyone's able to keep up, not intimidated with in the kitchen with Chef. Ooh, wow. All right, souffle-ish.
Okay. All right, so the timers went off. As you can see, these have souffled quite a bit because they're nice little tall, narrow containers. This one probably could go back in, but we're going to let those just sit there. Meanwhile, we've got nice color on our pork chop. Yours look just like that, right?
Don't be afraid, y'all can hold y'all spoon bread up into the camera.
Our apples are looking good. I'm going to take these apples out because the pork chops are a little thicker than, I wasn't sure what the thickness was going to be on them, so I don't want to overcook the apples. Pork chops are going to take a little bit longer. At this point, if you wanted, you could even throw the pork chops in the oven to finish rather than cooking them, let me turn that back up a
Somebody
little.
asked, can you substitute pumpkin for the sweet potato?
Oh, in the butternut squash, you could substitute pumpkin for sure. I said butternut squash, but I meant sweet potato. But you could also substitute any kind of winter squash like butternut. Any of those really nice, sweet, kind of fleshy kind of squash type things will work just great in here. Or you can, and the other thing you can do is you can put some cheese in there if you want.
Oh.
You can do it without the sweet potato and, any kind of cheese is good. Cheddar is good. Gruyere, would be delicious. So one other ingredient that you might incorporate into this meal would be sage. If you like herbs or if you have an herb garden, thyme or sage would be really delicious. I like sometimes just to sizzle sage leaves and put them on top as garnish. Just break them up and cook them. All right, so we've got these apples have a nice color on them. So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to add a little brown sugar. And this is the cider and the apple cider vinegar. And the apple cider vinegar just balances out that sweetness. And we're going to let that bubble and just cook until it forms. We'll reduce it, let it kind of thicken in the pan, and finish it with butter, and that will give it just that little bit of body.
Chef, what are you gonna do with those apples that's on the side?
What am I going to do with them?
Yeah, are they? Yeah.
That's the question.
With these.
Yeah, I mean, I can either put them back in the sauce, and glaze them with the sauce, or just have them on the plate.
Okay.
And then I'm going to also put a little tiny bit of butter in with my Brussels sprouts. And we want. Oh, and now my Brussels sprouts have a nice color, so I am going to add the shallots that I have to. Shallots and garlic can go in now. You don't want to add them in the beginning because they're so finely cut that they'll burn. You want that to be a finishing thing. And I was watching, and then just be careful that this burner is a little weird because it's high and low. You want it at that point either turn them off or just let it, be very, very low so you don't burn those finely chopped onions and shallots. And I was going to say, I was watching a Jacques Pepin video the other day, and he's doing all these really nice, very, very simple, economical recipes online right now.
Ooh.
And he's one of my favorites anyway. He's really fantastic and so much fun to listen to. I've met him, yes, and he's wonderful. And it was one of the first cookbooks I ever bought was called La Technique.
Okay.
Which was a book with a lot of photographs. It was a big book, and it had photographs of how to cut an onion, how to fold egg whites, how to, all that stuff. And for a beginning cook, it was just a fabulous, fabulous book. And he was talking about how to make the best. He said, people always ask me how I make my green beans so delicious. And it's using shallots. I mean, shallots and butter. I mean, that's really all it is. And the shallots you can buy them in the supermarket now. They're like a tiny little onion. They're kind of lavender in color. And if you start just chopping this real fine and adding them, you can even slice them. You don't even have to chop them fine. You can slice them, and after you blanch your green beans, you just put a little whole butter, salt, and those shallots. And I'm telling you, it's amazing. It's amazing how good they make things taste.
Is it a substitute for onion?
It's milder than an onion, and it's really, I wouldn't, you'd have to use a lot. Most people use a lot of onions, when you're cooking something. It's really a subtle kind of finishing sort of thing, or a foundation for a lot of sauces, like a butter sauce or something like that. So let's have a look at our sauce here. Speaking of sauces, all right, you can kind of see it's starting to thicken up a little bit. It's not quite there yet, but it's reducing. I went ahead and threw a little butter in the pan as it's reducing, and I think these pork chops, I went ahead and finished them in the pan. Sorry, they're great. I think they feel pretty firm, so I don't think we have to put them in the oven. They're turned off. I think I'm gonna go ahead and plate one, and I could slice the pork, but maybe I'll take one over and slice it, and we'll have a look and see. So we have our Brussels sprouts. I think I got a few little dark ones in here, but hopefully they're good.
It's so cute.
And those shallots are precious. Totes adorbs. They don't even say that anymore, do they? I know. When I learned. I heard somebody saying that. No, nobody anymore, but I think it was such a funny thing. That's from, I don't know. All right. Okay. If you had any extra shallots, you could throw them in your sauce too.
Can you repeat that?
If you had any extra shallots, you could throw in the sauce, and that would be good too. All right, we are almost there, and I'm going to show y'all. I don't think you necessarily need to do this at home. You can serve it in the container, but I am going to show you that they pop right out. Look
Look at that.
And it's kind of cute on the plate.
Super adorable.
So we also, when we plate, kind of, you know, we like things, what I always say, high and tight. I'm old school, but, you know, I like a nice center of the plate, a nice focus, and a little height, a little dimension. And our sauce is looking pretty good.
For all the folks online who didn't know, I used to be a former student of Chef Spicer. I said, for all the folks out there who didn't know, I used to be a former student of yours. Alumni, Bayona alumni.
Uh-oh, yes.
So this is a joy watching you in your element.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness. So, like I said, I had a lot of apples on the plate, and we could, you know, and this should be divided. The apples should be divided between the two plates. So I can plate the other one sliced. That's your plate. And if we want to take this over here, this pork chop, you can let it rest over here for a minute. And I can make another plate.
Sure. Can you ask folks how they're doing?
Okay, what's that?
Just how you do it.
All right, so what I was going to do is I was going to let the pork chop, the second pork chop rest, and then we can slice it, and that's just a little bit different presentation. So we'll have, you know, one sliced and one not sliced.
Chef, is the sauce with the apples supposed to thicken up?
Yeah, it's actually got a nice consistency. It's not runny. It's definitely, you know, it's got a little thickness to it. It doesn't have to be too thick, but it's definitely got some body to it. You know, it's not like you can see on the plate. You know, it's got a nice amount of. You can add more butter if you want. Who doesn't want more butter? So I'm going to cut into, oh wow, I almost overcooked those in the pan. That's pretty cooked. I forgot that they were already a little bit.
You can blame it on the camera.
Uh-oh. That's all right. So what you're looking for, I have it on the end, is that little, I like it a little pink and juicy. So mine, I think, maybe stayed in the pan a minute too long. But we also defrosted them under warm water. So you can slice it, and then
Chef wasn't supposed to tell her trick to the trade.
And you can put your apples like right on top of the pork if you want.
Beautiful.
You have your sauce there.
Wow.
It's just a little pan juice. So, how are we doing, guys? How are we doing out there in the real world, the real kitchens? Anybody got a progress report?
I want to see how Christian's spoon bread look, cause she been back to like a pro.
All right. Somebody was last I saw somebody, they were whipping egg whites still.
Yeah, so I finally got my souffle in the oven. Now I'm going on to the next round.
How'd you do? Are your things, your
I finally got the souffle in the oven.
Okay.
Or the spoon bread in the oven. Substituted the pumpkin because my potatoes were a little behind instead of move on. So now I'm moving on to the rest of the sprouts. Just a little
It's
behind.
kind of sad. I sort of feel like, you know, it's hard to cook when you don't have anybody that's going to eat it. So I'm going to have to make Michelle eat it.
I'm happy to do that.
All right.
Thank you.
So, any questions about any of the elements,
Talk
any parts?
Talk a little bit about Rosedale and your hours.
Okay. And this is actually a dish that I'll probably be doing. I got inspired by the ingredients, and we're going to be doing Rebillon. during the month of December at Rosedale, and this will be one of our entrees. So I may do it with kale, I may do it with Brussels sprouts, but I'm going to do the pork chop and apples, and probably the spoon bread, either with sweet potato or with butternut squash, because we're going to do a pumpkin cheesecake, and we have a ricotta gnocchi that we're going to do. But Rosedale is open from, let's see, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. We do lunch and dinner. Saturday night, we do dinner, and Sunday brunch from 10 to 2. So Saturday day, we used to do lunch, but now I just go in the kitchen on Saturday and cook by myself, which is really nice. I make specials and I do prep, and it's, you know, it's nice to be able to cook without a mask for a few hours, because it's, you know, it's getting kind of old.
Chef, someone asks, what happens next with the Brussels sprouts brown? I guess when the Brussels sprouts brown, they're asking what to do next.
What's next is just season them, taste one, pop one in your mouth, add your shallots and garlic, you know, season it, make them taste good, and put them on the plate.
Chef, one of my questions are how are you dealing with, you know, the climate change and everything, being a restaurant owner in these times?
Well, we're fortunate that we have a lot of outdoor seating, both at Bayona and at Rosedale. Rosedale, we have a lot of tables outside, and we've got warmer, you know, some heaters, and it's been so far a pretty mild fall, going into, you know, whatever New Orleans winter is. You know, we don't know what that is most of the time, but people are really enjoying sitting outside, and you know, we do have indoor dining as well, but you know, we're doing a little bit of both, and it's working out really well. So, you know, just once every other week, we have a hurricane coming along. I think it'll be over pretty soon. Fingers crossed. Yeah, it's been kind of a crazy season, so we're hoping those hurricanes are going to go away. We're going to have a nice mild winter, and we're just going to enjoy dining outdoors. You know, it's the thing. I've always loved it anyway, so it makes me happy.
Chef, can you crack open one of those spoon breads so the people can see how theirs should come out?
Sure. Yeah, so there, as you can see, it's kind of deflated. You know, you can run a little knife around the edge. You don't. Sometimes you don't have to. In this case, it looks like it's not sticking at all. And you know, of course, you gotta wait for it to cool down, or put a towel in your hand. You know, I've got asbestos fingers, right? You know, I got that from my mom. And then you just turn it over, and you can see it's warm, and you can take them out, and then, you know, you can take them out ahead of time and put them on a little tray, and then just pop them back in the oven, put a little butter on top, or.
Someone said that their consistency is very soft inside. Is that a good thing, a bad thing?
Well, it should be. I mean, it shouldn't be wet and runny. Maybe it just needs to stay in the oven. I will say, you know, we cook in convection ovens, and this, you know, in a commercial kitchen, and that convection oven adds a little bit of heat. So, you know, it might just be, if you're cooking in a regular oven, you may just need to leave it in for another 5 minutes or something. Convection ovens have a tendency to help things rise, but it also has a drying effect, so it will cook that center a little more. But you want it to be moist. You see, which is why it was called spoon bread, because you can eat it with a spoon. It's almost like a pudding, but you want the eggs to be cooked, so you don't want it to be. All right. And how's Ellen doing? We have a birthday, another birthday. Besides my husband, Ellen's having a birthday. Is that correct? Where's Ellen? Happy birthday.
I'm right here.
Well, good.
I don't know if I'm correct.
Hey, that's me. Thank you. I'm running around like a plucked chicken trying to get Brussels sprouts with a friend of mine, Kitty.
It's come good. It's come really good.
Brussels sprouts are great.
It's your birthday?
Yes, it's my birthday. Such a
birthday.
Yep.
Happy birthday. 39, right?
So everybody asked, all of our relatives in India and my teammates asked what I was doing to celebrate. And I said, I'm celebrating with Liberty's Kitchen and Food and Spice there. What better way to celebrate?
So ours came out delicious.
Yeah.
Yep, there you go.
So I have a question.
You sliced
So
your pork
tasty.
chop too.
So tasty.
Nice.
Chef, someone asked about the temp on pork. Is it like 155 or something, like, or 145? I'm in that area.
I tend to like it still with a little bit of pink and juicy, and so I would probably go with 145.
Okay, yeah, that's a good pork temp, 145.
And it's nice if you do want to slice it. It's nice to let it rest for a few minutes. Just let it sit, take it out of the pan, and let it sit. And with any meat that you want to slice, you want to let it rest, and that just kind of the muscles and the juices all sort of relax. And then when you slice it, it doesn't just all the juice comes out. So it makes it a little more tender when it rests.
You can say goodbye. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, if there are no more questions, I'm going to leave you all to enjoy your dinners. I hope that yours looks as good as mine. And if not, come see me at Rosedale.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chef.
Thank you.
Oh my, we have a question, quick question for the rest of the group. What do you do with the gravy that the pork cooked in? We added the apple cider and some of it. Not very thick.
Put it right over.
Yeah, if you want, you can add it to your sauce with the apples, and it'll be an extra pork marinating element to the sauce.
You can, all right.
Delicious. So good.
Fantastic, everybody. Hi, good evening. I'm Dennis Begnaris. I'm the CEO of Liberty's Kitchen, and once again, I just want to close us out and thank everybody for attending, especially our birthday girls and boys, everybody who's on celebrating a birthday today. I appreciate you making this your celebratory event for the evening, and thank you for being a part of what we do here. I want to once again thank Chef Susan Spicer for just always being there for us and just being a committed advocate and supporter of the work that we've been doing. And Chef Syrena, graduate and alumni of so many programs we're partnering with, but most importantly, Liberty's Kitchen. I always love seeing you and just watching you grow and progress in this industry, especially, being paired with someone like Chef Susan Spicer, who is a master in this industry and very well known in the community. Harsha Marie, want to thank you guys again for representing Bonne Cuvée Wines. Again, the pairing seemed to be amazing. Love the educational factor that comes with it. The teaching us about the wine and the pairing, it just elevates, I think, the meal and the experience for a lot of our guests this evening. So I want to thank you guys again for being here. Also want to thank Lauren Darnell from the Mino Foundation for being on this evening. Please look out for her event in the future, December 3rd, Pass the Peas. And yeah, I just want to let everybody know, highlight our next guest chef night, which will be December 17th, features Savizi Persian Pop-Up. So yeah, that's our next one, closing us out for 2020. Please continue to support our local cafe and catering, as it all supports the youth of the city of New Orleans, just like young Syrena here this evening. Last but not least, I want to thank my very good friend, Lou Hill of Waterseed, tonight's featured musical guest. And we hope that you'll stick around and listen to those guys play us out this evening as you enjoy all of your creative dishes tonight. Thank you so much for being here. Have a good evening.
Here we go, Marcus. Mark 1, 2, 3, press.
need to talk about it. No need to fight about it. We gonna ride this shit to the next show, and we'll make love tonight. They can push on off and fade it. It really ain't that complicated. Find my heart and confiscate it. And I'ma call you, and you gon' come through. We just got this thing started. Can you move in closer to me? Closer to you, closer to what it do. No stress, we can start it. When you're moving closer to me, closer to you, heaven can see us. Don't you know you're everything that's right? Don't you know you're everything that's right? Don't you know you're everything that's right? This is right. You're right. You and me together, I'ma make you happy. Walking in our garden, we gon' plant a seed, we gon' plant a seed. You can call me when you need me, call me when you want me, and I'll be through, I'll be through. Shorty, shorty, we just got this thing started. Can you move in closer to me, closer to you, closer to what it do? No stress, we can start it. When you're moving closer to me, closer to you, heaven can see us. Don't you know you're everything that's right? Don't you know you're everything that's right? Don't you know you're everything that's right? This is right. You're right. Don't you know you're everything that's right? Don't you know you're everything that's right? This is right. You're right. Don't you know you're everything that's right? Don't you know you're everything that's right? Don't you know you're everything that's right? This is right. You're right.